This is the worst thing I've ever done. I still have nightmares to this day.
Motherfucker, you don't have no nightmares.
No
This is the
way.
best thing that's ever happened to you.
Man.
I want you to put your hands together and welcome him to the stage. Big round of applause.
Welcome back to the Smokescreen Podcast. I'm your co-host. I didn't have a name.
Nasal. Well, I worked with Joe Exotic at the zoo there, and it was the worst thing that ever happened to me except for all the money.
So, sorry, that was a little extended.
I'm your co-host, Don Lewis.
He's back.
Missing.
He's back from the dead, ladies and gentlemen. He's here now. Exclusive interview here. Episode 30 of the Smokescreen Podcast. We have to revisit Tiger King.
We really do.
We had an episode 8 come out, and I'm air quoting that for people not listening on YouTube. So we're probably just going to shit on that for a minute. But first, I want to thank our newest Patreons. We got 2 new Patreons this week to support the podcast. Thank you so much to Tina Bowen and Patty Wicksteed. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
And as usual, we have our weekly sponsor, Vagisil. And
that's right. Are you tired of losing your Lee press-on nails while scratching that feminine itch? Well, Vagisil is the ointment for you.
They have been longtime supporters of the podcast. Since we're going with the redneck theme here, we might as well take it full redneck. Anyway, so yes.
Ooh, did somebody turn the heat on?
Yeah, I know. Can you turn the hair up over there? Jesus. Oh, shit. Okay. What were we talking about? Oh, Tiger King.
Yeah.
Right. So, we watched this episode 8, and this, like, it's kind of like the catch up of where are they now?
Yeah.
For about 5 or 6 people. I mean, let me just say right off the bat, I didn't like it because, of course, it didn't include Carole and Joe, with the 2 main players, obviously.
Right. And
I mean, I understand Joe's in prison and all that, but he did do interviews. We were talking about this off camera. He did interviews, or seemingly did interviews, in the actual first 7 episodes.
yeah, let's not pretend they couldn't at least
Right.
get audio,
Something.
some kind of interview.
And then apparently, to be fair to Carole fucking Baskin, they didn't invite her, but she said also that she would not have accepted. But I find it odd because we were looking at this, and then we looked at a few YouTube videos on her own channel, her very small channel, not the main channel, which is very odd to me, where she's doing all this damage control, all these videos, and explaining things away and whatever. But I find it odd. There's no views hardly, or very few. She only got like 1.7 thousand subscribers on her personal channel.
Yeah.
And there's not any comments, but they're not disabled.
And she has a legitimate channel, and she
Yeah,
has a
yes.
legitimate social networking presence and footprint.
Absolutely. She's
Why would you, if you really want to get this out, why
Right.
would you go there?
You
and
have a
create
verified
this?
Facebook page for Big Cat Rescue where you do all this. She makes tons of money because she runs ads just like a YouTube video. You have a YouTube channel that's got millions of subs for Big Cat Rescue, but you're doing all these little 2 or 3 minute, 6-minute videos, basically rebutting everything in Tiger King, the docu-series, I should say.
Yeah.
But you're not getting it out there. Do you want it out there or not? Or do you want to? Is it like? Is it doing it to cover it for later? I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah. Now, as far as this episode goes, I got to say, I haven't been so excited in a long time. You texted me today, said it's out.
Yeah,
And,
I was looking
we
last
knew it was
night.
coming.
I was looking last night after midnight. Didn't see it. Figured it would probably be 4 a.m. or whatever. So it basically today. It was the day it was coming.
And you said it's out, and I was like, I sleep in, guys. I sleep in late, and so when he texted me that, I was like, man, awesome. I'll get up and I'll get ready and I'll head over that way. He's like, cool. I got some stuff to grill. I'm gonna try to grill before it rains.
Yeah, it was going to rain.
And we were excited to do this thing and watch this episode. And I'll tell you, it turned out to be pretty disappointing.
It was basically a shit show, kind of a social distancing Netflix special for Ryan Seacrest's brother. I mean, that's what the fuck it was. I mean, I'm fine with
Joel McHale.
Yeah, Joel McHale, who, again, we'll call him Ryan.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm fine. It's like we're jumping on the thing to talk about it, so people could argue we're capitalizing on the popularity, and that's
Right,
fine. I don't
right.
have a problem with people doing that. We've seen David Spade interview the same people
Yep.
on his YouTube channel, but this was more like a thing for him to be relevant. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I have no problem with people jumping on the cashing in, so to speak, but at least make it about the people. Ask them legitimate questions.
I feel the same way. I mean, you know, we were watching it, and I was like, "Where do I know this guy from?"
Right.
And because he said in the beginning, you know, I contacted Netflix, and they sent me an iPhone and said, "Go ahead," you know.
Yeah, you got to let me do this thing, and they
Yeah.
sent me an iPhone and said, "Here, have fun," basically.
And so, you know, yeah, I agree. He's not, you know, that popular of a person, to
right. And I
begin
mean, he
with.
did I guess to be completely fair, he did joke with himself, basically saying
About
2009 was a good year.
It was a good year for me, yeah. So he did do that, but the thing is, I don't know, man. He let me down. He did not ask. Okay. Let me just say that I thought that what this was going to be was a chance to revisit some of the cast members since all this blew up. Tell us how your life's changed, positive or negatively,
Right.
and tell me some things that they didn't show
Or
that you wish they had.
Yeah, you know, righting some wrongs
Righting
with how they
wrongs.
filmed it or whatever, updates on any new legal issues, maybe anything, honestly. And it ended up being kind of the same questions, a couple legitimate questions, but other than that, it was pretty much, I feel like it was almost just a bashing redneck session.
Yeah. I mean,
There was a lot of
you got
shots
these
there that he
people-
took that were really, I don't mind people making fun of anybody. I mean, that's comedy, but there was really some tasteless
Yeah, when you do it right in somebody's
shit.
face.
Yeah. And
you
and they
know,
have to take it because they're
yeah.
not what, they going to storm off
They're
and
gonna-
not get paid.
Nah, they're gonna laugh it off, and then you know you get to jab them again. So you got 2 teeth or 3. That's what it was like.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And he, like, for example, he asked John No Legs, John, because there's 2 Johns. So we have our nicknames.
Right.
By the way, anybody watching this and hadn't seen this podcast before, go check out our podcast we did a week ago on the actual full 7 episodes.
Yeah.
We go into our in-depth on the whole damn show there. So it was just like he asked him, have you ever considered taking one of your legs off and throwing it at one of the tigers if they attack you or something? It was like, is that supposed to be funny, I guess? I guess
Right.
it's supposed to be. Anyway,
Because
so,
I had already got the same feeling. Because you and I, we like this show, and
Yeah.
so you found that David Spade interviewing SAFF,
yes.
and so then I watched that he interviewed everybody, and so when I watched this, I expected it to be a little more professional than what I'd seen David Spade do, because David Spade's a comedian, and I expected him to
Right.
try to be funny like that.
Exactly, but
It
he
was
was
a repeat.
He took it a lot more serious, I think,
Yeah.
even him. And I understand. I'm not worried about, like, we're not talking about the production value.
Oh, no.
We understand that right now everything's Skype or Zoom or
That's
whatever
right.
whatever program you're using. But he didn't really ask any serious questions, and like I said, a couple. And it seemed to me, with the only doing 5 or 6 of the, I don't know, what do you call them, the B characters,
Right, yeah.
you know, and not really getting any information from Joe, or at least his attorney or somebody directly involved with him, or even Carole's side. And I hate that they didn't ask her or that she didn't participate either way. Because I want her to come. I wonder why she would. That's what we were talking about. Why was she go on her YouTube channel and do all this, on her own, and not have it not come on the Netflix special that you railed so hard against, and given the opportunity, and air your grievances?
Yeah, and my thoughts on that are, okay, I get it. You do not like the people who did the documentary.
Sure.
You're pissed at them.
Yeah,
but this is not them. This is exactly a platform for you to get as much exposure
It's
as
Netflix. You know it's going to get a billion views.
That's right.
But it's a different dude that's kind of doing it with permission from Netflix.
Right. So here's your chance.
But I guess, again, this is based off just one article I read that they did not offer her to be interviewed. But that could be wrong. I don't know.
That's true. And so I guess let me ask you this. What did you like about it?
the only aspect I liked is just basically seeing kind of them today.
Me too.
And a couple of the things where they mention, how they'll go out and people wanting them to, in the middle of a pandemic, wanting them to take pictures and sign things.
I like that.
I
part
think
of
it's
it
really
too.
a strange phenomenon where you're essentially nobody, and I mean nobody as far as not being popular or
Yep.
famous. I don't mean as in personal, a nobody. And then you go out to a place, something happens or whatever, in this case, a documentary, and people are asking you to sign things.
I think that's really cool.
It's really cool, and it's really odd at the same time. I've experienced a little of this myself, a little bit.
Yep.
And you have too, a little bit.
a little bit. Yep.
And it's very, very odd. And so that's interesting to hear other people's perspective on it. But
Yep.
anyway.
I agree.
But other than that, I mean, it was really just basically let's bash on Joe, let's kick the man while he's down, the whole entire show, except for SAFF. I think
Agreed.
she's the only one, and John, No Legs John, he was really kind of neutral this episode.
What's funny about this? You said the exact same two people when we talked about the show.
Exactly.
So to me, the documentary must actually not,
Yeah, I mean,
it
because
must let your real personality shine through to me because we
Yes,
picked the same two again.
the same two people that we thought were
Genuine.
genuine people.
Yeah.
Because look, we're not saying. I think we made it very clear because there were a few comments in there about how Joe's a criminal and blah blah blah, and he's a horrible person. We said that.
Yep.
On the first podcast where we covered the whole thing.
I don't want to be his fourth husband.
No.
I'm just saying. I mean, if people are going to say, "Hey, you're just a big Joe,"
No,
you know,
it ain't. No.
nut rider. or
We
whatever.
we said essentially somewhere deep down in there he's a good person, and he started probably
He
legitimate
started.
and cared, but he got corrupted by money and did some horrible things. We said that.
That's right.
It's not about just defending him, but come on, let's be fair about it. Let's get his side of the story on Netflix.
I agree.
And I don't know. Maybe there is something going on with since he has pending lawsuits. I'm sure maybe there are some legal issues. I don't know. We don't really know that. But it's like it was really more of a let's capitalize on the popularity of this and put out this little, again, quarantine Netflix special for this comedian or wannabe comedian, whatever.
Right.
And not really get any new information.
Yeah. Here's something I didn't say when we did our last podcast on this, but I have thought about is, okay, that podcast, that series was a collection of a lot of footage shot
Yes.
over a lot of years.
Long time.
Of a guy who is he's one of those people who is flamboyant. He likes to wear colorful clothes. He likes
yeah.
to wear a lot of earrings, tattoos. His hair's funky. He likes
EMT
to draw
coats.
attention to
He
himself, right?
does.
So now you got him, and you're saying all these cameras right here are filming you in this park that you run. So he's like, I'm the star of this.
Right.
So what I believe we got in there is a lot of Joe being amped up, knowing the cameras are on,
Oh, yeah.
and then a lot of people on these little side interviews, the B characters, as you say,
Right.
who aren't really amped up and on doing their little, their little takes or whatever. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not so sure that we ever even got to see a good, real Joe.
Yeah,
Other
no,
than
I
right there
agree.
Towards the last episode.
Towards the end, yep.
Then you got to see kind of, okay, downplaying all the bullshit. What's Joe like? I
Right.
think that's a closer representation.
I think so too. The very end of episode 7, when we watched it again today. The end of episode 7, the part especially when he said, he released his chimpanzees, and he admitted, did I deny that? For 10 years? Yep. Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
he answered it himself.
And it showed the old clips of him. These tigers belong in Asia and Africa and blah blah blah. So I think those are the glimpses of the real Joe. We said it on the podcast about the whole entire show, was that this was a caricature. Joe Exotic is a caricature of Joe whatever.
Yeah,
I forgot his last name.
Maldonado, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Tiger King, after
Nasal built his throne.
Yeah.
And
you pump him up.
he became that character.
And it didn't look like the cameras were off much.
No,
So
he wanted to film
literally
everything.
had to be on all the time.
Exactly.
And everything's over the top. And you want this fucking watch? Boom.
And motherfucker.
Now, if the cameras weren't there, he might destroy the watch to keep her from getting it, but it wouldn't be big theatrical.
That's right. Yeah,
know.
I have no doubt that's the truth. I mean, sure, it was a caricature, and I'm sure it was a little different when he went home at night, and if there wasn't cameras in his house,
Right.
or like because they were obviously filming a reality series that never made it. Maybe that will happen now. There's a lot of, but they said they lost it all.
Right.
And the explosion, which is really odd when they showed a lot during the docu-series. I'm not sure how that works, but
so strange.
Anyway, for this one, they interviewed Las Vegas, Jeff Lowe, which I think, I think a lot of people believe that he needs to be in prison at some point.
It seems like too. He always interviews with his wife now. Does it
Always,
seem that way?
yeah. It's always, I forgot her name, but it's always they're listed as Joe and
Lauren.
Lauren, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Of course, now you have the nanny, the nanny, involved as well. She wasn't on there, exactly. Interesting. She's not a part of this. I don't know. I guess she wasn't, in part of the main show. But so they interviewed Jeff, and he basically, kind of the same thing he said in the end of the documentary. Well, everybody says I'm this big bad, guy. I'm the villain. They needed a villain, so they labeled me the villain, and I got that part. Okay, so no new information there.
Right.
But they were asking about the park still open, and yes, blah blah blah. But I've read a lot of other things too, saying that basically. They're obviously shut down right now because of COVID. And before that, though, they were not busy. People are not going anymore, obviously, because he's not the Tiger King.
Exactly. He's not.
So he can't
carry Joe's jockstrap.
Hell no. So, let me tell you what, motherfuckers. So he can't keep up with Joe.
He can't.
They interviewed Joe's one of his first husbands, John Toothless Finley.
Yeah.
And they did update with him, getting his new teeth, which he did. He was kind of mad that Netflix didn't show that. He wanted to clarify that he was not a meth head. He's been clean for 4 or 5 years.
Right. Prior to filming.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it was a genetic thing, whatever. And he got his, tattoo covered up, obviously, in the docu-series, and then now he's got his teeth replaced. And it didn't show some footage that they actually had. So he got that out there, but he had already said that in many articles and other interviews. So really, too, there.
Really nothing new
really new
right
there. Really quick, speaking of men in prison and weird, crazy-ass documentaries, we want to mention this really quick before we go any further. Somebody asked us in a comment on the last podcast that we did on Tiger King.
Yeah.
You guys should cover Making a Murderer. And here's the thing. We thought we did.
We really thought we did.
We legitimately thought we did it because we watched that when it came out, both seasons. We binged the shit out of it. And we talked about it so much. And we actually did go on Twitch and talk about it because it was one of those things where before I don't know if we had started the podcast.
No.
I don't think we had started the podcast. We had to talk about this. So we went on Twitch at the time.
Yeah.
And talked about it for like an hour or two. But we never did an actual podcast.
No.
So we're going to cover...
And we had mentioned it in some live streams.
Yes.
A couple times.
Many times.
So all that together...
In our heads, we had an episode.
Yeah.
And we don't.
We went back through all of our videos and we're like, we did not do a podcast.
Yeah, I'm trying to... It's like I was trying to think, did I do a regular one-off video? Because I seem to remember like thumbnails and stuff, but I guess we didn't.
I know, so...
Anyway, what we're saying
is stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We're going to go back and rewatch it and try to, because there's been a lot of updates, and I follow Kathleen Zellner and all that shit as well.
You always keep me updated.
We're going to cover Making a Murderer. We'll watch it again, all 90 hours of it or whatever it is. Anyway, to get back to,
I'll say this real quick.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I've told people that other than sports, I have never yelled at a television so much.
Oh, yeah.
Than I did when I was watching Making a Murderer.
It is.
So if you haven't watched it, just stay tuned. We'll get you into it.
Yes, definitely. It's absolutely crazy. And I don't know. We were talking. That's what we compared this to.
Yep.
We wonder because Netflix don't release their numbers according to Joe Rogan, and it's like, is this beating it now or not? I don't know. At some point it may.
For a
if it hadn't already.
docuseries, it would have to be pulling some strong numbers, I think, to beat it.
Yeah, but there is 2 seasons.
This has the pandemic.
Yeah, that's true.
The quarantine to help.
That is true.
You know,
that is true. Anyway, so back to Tiger King. So we mentioned Jeff Lowe was no really new information. He played the victim. Oh, woe me. We know he's a horrible bastard. He basically, my whole thing again with him, just really quick. I know we already talked about it.
No.
I just don't understand how they played the audio tape on the original documentary of him talking to Alan
Glover.
the so-called hitman, of when he admitted he was never going to Florida. He never went to Florida. He wouldn't go, do anything to anybody for $1 million. That's fucking evidence that's not, I don't understand that.
He perjured himself.
He perjured himself from previous testimony, and it's right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... But
we can't be the only ones saying this.
No,
that
but
drives me crazy.
I think they made a deal. I think they had to make a deal because they were called in, remember, and to get Joe. Let's bring down the big bad Joe.
It's
and
mentioned at least 2 or 3 times.
Absolutely.
That they knew the murder for hire case wasn't strong enough,
and so they added the animal charges. And because, like we mentioned, don't fuck with cats.
Yep.
The other documentary we talked about.
So they're clearly saying they knew that no matter what Alan had testified to, it was still weak as shit.
It was still weak.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, essentially, they know that when they were actually discussing some of those things about, like, the bike path, that Joe was over in his little desk by himself.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they added the animal charges, which automatically makes you an evil monster in comparison to murder.
Yeah.
Like, if it would have just been one charge where he hit a cat
Right.
or killed one, it doesn't matter the degree
That's right.
of abuse. It would automatically been found guilty of anything along with that, because they know that it pulls on people's heartstrings.
Yes.
They picture a little baby tiger cub getting shot.
That's right.
I mean, even a big one, it doesn't matter, but it pulls on your heartstrings.
But they frame it. It's all
And
the
yeah,
way to frame
and again,
something.
it's a horrible thing. He did admit to euthanizing. Let's say it, he killed 5 tigers.
Yeah.
And again, they're saying they were healthy and whatever. I don't know how his wife knew that.
Yeah.
Jeff Lowe's, I don't know how they know they were healthy.
Thank you.
Either way, it happened. He admitted it fine. We're not saying he's like an angel by any means.
And while, look, Joe had this little jewel out here in Oklahoma.
Right.
That he had built up a following. He had built a legit place that people went to. He was this wild character.
Right.
Right?
Playing the
was
part.
popular enough to get, 19% of the vote?
19% of the vote as an independent.
So listen, man.
For governor. He did run for president technically too, but governor, 19%.
Right.
That's pretty fucking impressive.
And all these vultures saw this, right? So they go in there, oh, we love Joe. Let me be part of this. And then
Right.
it seemed like over and over again, people would use him against himself.
Yes.
Pump him up, make him say these horrible things.
And even type them out in some cases.
Right.
Just put a cap in her ass,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
It's like they were almost throwing fuel on the fire to
They
get
were
him
absolutely
to pop off.
And that's what I'm saying. Even in the documentary, he says that. Well, did I push him at times? Probably.
I know.
That's
that drove me
coercion. I mean,
crazy.
come on, man. Why is that not admissible in court? Or is it? I mean, yes, it is.
It has to be.
It's like it goes back to Brendan Dassey and the whole. We'll get into all that.
It
But
does.
It's a
don't it?
similar thing.
Yeah,
is what I'm
entrapment
saying.
almost.
Entrapment, yes.
And dude, so it's like, now don't come at me. Don't say, "Oh, I love this guy. He was awesome." And then now, when you've had multiple chances, you can't say one good thing about the man.
Right.
That drives me crazy, man. They're all throwing him under the bus. It seems like.
This whole thing was just essentially throwing him under bus again, except for SAFF, and we'll get to her. But
Yeah.
they interviewed
Rick Kirkman.
Nasal.
You nail him every time
I'm
you
sorry.
do that.
I just
It's perfect.
Well, I moved on that farm, and I worked for Joe for 14 years, and he comes out the end of it saying, "This is the worst thing I've ever done. I still have nightmares to this day."
Motherfucker, you don't have no nightmares. This is
way.
the best thing that's ever happened to you.
Man said he had one last night.
Come on, dude.
That's
Let's not be a little
bull
over
crap.
dramatic. You know this motherfucker's getting paid. The
Yes.
initial idea was he can run his little park. I'm gonna make $1 million off the back end footage.
Right.
With this reality show.
He
He said
saw it.
that straight up.
Yep.
Don't act like this is the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
You're sitting there on
you're
camera.
A grown man.
You're a grown ass man. You're
Yeah.
sitting there agreeing to these interviews. You're getting paid to do them. Don't act like it's the worst thing that happened to you. So again, he's one of these people. Now he comes out and says, I saw horrible things, and I was conflicted back then about going to PETA or animal rights activists because I seen him treat animals horribly. Told the horse story.
Again, he told it on Spade, and
Yes.
then he told it again, word for word, like he's been rehearsing it.
Right.
I
And
mean,
I'm not saying that
it didn't happen,
right.
just like that. So maybe it's going to come out exactly the same way every time. But it
Yes.
just felt like it.
But yeah, don't sit there and act like it's the worst thing that happened, but you're profiting off of it. and capitalizing on his popularity. You just ain't him.
Because if early on, if you saw that side of Joe and you stayed,
Right.
don't whine anymore.
That's right. You're part of it.
That's right.
You're part of it.
You saw him do that to that lady's horse, and you stayed because $1 million is $1 million.
That's right.
You know?
But
Come
I was a victim. I was kind of drawn into Joe myself, and I just, I felt like, he was the Tiger King,
And that's basically his excuse was I was drawn in too.
You could do a whole podcast of this, dude. I would love it.
Maybe I would. That's what I should have been.
I
That should have been
cannot pull it off.
my intro. Anyway, so he was more basically again bashing Joe. He's an asshole. We've said he's an asshole. Joe himself called himself an asshole in the documentary. This is nothing new.
Yeah.
So this was like a bash Joe
And
for most people. And again, the other thing was the host, Ryan Seacrest's little fucking brother.
yeah.
I just felt like it was let's take shots at redneck type things. I mean, it really was for
100%
him.
it was.
And again, I don't mind. Believe me, I'm part redneck. I can take the jokes. I can make fun of them.
Right.
But the point is it felt like to me that it was overwhelming for him. That was like his thing to poke at the very people he was interviewing,
Yeah.
who in a lot of ways were victims in some way. They came in young, needing a place to stay,
Right.
and all this kind of stuff. So it was
Now-
really odd.
Also, Rick Kirkman, didn't he say, "I'm ready to put this Tiger King stuff behind me"?
Oh yeah,
and that's
yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah, I'm so ready for this to be over with, so I can
Yeah.
get back to my normal life and smoking cigarettes. And
That's
I need to wipe my
bullshit.
teeth, by the way. I could have a great sponsorship with Crest, but they won't call me back.
I mean, I'm just telling you, dude. That's fine. If you're capitalizing off of it, that's fine. We're doing a podcast about it. We know it's popular right now.
That's right.
Now we legitimately want to talk about it like we do all our podcasts, but just fucking say what it is. You went in there with that in mind to make money. Don't pretend now that you're a victim.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
Nope.
And if you knew he was doing bad shit to animals, you were complicit in it.
Yeah.
Period.
That's right. And you're
Period.
filming it, and then later want to complain because
Right.
if your shit hadn't got burnt, you'd be making $1 million off
Yes,
of that.
exactly.
You know?
He's mad because Joe blew the shit up, and I do believe Joe blew the shit
I do
up.
too. I really do too.
He kind of started learning people were backstabbing him for money, and,
Yeah.
I get it. So then they moved on to John No Legs. There's a couple of Johns here, so we have these obviously nicknames like I did in the main podcast. But No Legs was one of the coolest dudes in the whole entire docuseries, and this one too. Now, he basically called Joe an asshole and whatever, but and said he hadn't been in contact with him because he knows that the phone calls are recorded unless it's an attorney in prison, and he won't stop running his mouth.
He knows Joe will get on something and start going
Exactly.
and probably dig himself deeper.
So he didn't really bash him, but he didn't really, because he was really pretty defensive for him in the actual original first 7 episodes.
Yeah.
But it came off like, yeah, I'm just living my life now. I left my wife. I'm living my own. He's doing obviously some racing stuff, fixing cars.
Right.
He mentioned that kind of shit. And then that's basically it. He's an asshole and I hadn't talked to him. That was really kind of it.
Yeah. I mean,
No new information from there either other than an update on him.
right. He almost lost his balls or something.
It felt like
Because
it felt like
you know how like when things it's not in fashion to take up for somebody.
Yes.
Like you take up for them, but then all of a sudden you hear everybody else dogging them. And
Yes,
maybe I'm
because-
looking weird myself. I better not take up for them
Right.
anymore.
Because during the documentary, before it was ever aired, it was being filmed.
Thank you.
He was
It
right
wasn't-
there, kind of, yes, Joe's a bad, he's done some bad things, but he's generally a good guy. He's an asshole, just like I'm an asshole. Everybody's an asshole. But now it's like, with all the heat coming down and after the show's popularity, he's kind of backed off defending him a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the way it felt. Now,
There's-
again, we did notice some edits here.
We did.
There was
We
some
saw it
definite
cut
jump
a
cuts.
lot.
And I'm fine with editing, I know, but you just don't know what you're missing.
Right.
I feel like we do this podcast purposely so we don't have to edit things and we want it raw and whatever comes out, comes out. That's the way these type of things should be because you got to remember it's a very popular documentary, but these are real people,
Right.
real lives, real animal lives you're talking about in the end, and a real guy sitting in prison for something he probably didn't do as far as the, murder for hire plot.
Right.
And other people may or may not go to prison or whatever. This is not just a reality show where it's scripted necessarily.
You're touching on the point I want to leave this whole podcast with. I want
Yeah.
to leave everybody with that very point is these are real people.
Yes.
Although they're on a TV show for you while you're quarantined, they're not characters.
Right.
They're real people, and to make fun of them in their face and make fun of their despair and to
Right.
make fun of
And their looks.
yeah.
You know, it's going back to the whole toothless redneck, you can't read, you dropped out of school in 6th grade shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that a million times starting this YouTube channel 5 years ago.
And Joel McHale, if you're out there, if this gets shared to you and you see this, look me in the eyes, Joel. You shouldn't be casting stones, Mr. Hair Plugs.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, high
shit.
definition TV is not complimentary to somebody with hair plugs. I saw it. Your baby doll hair.
I didn't know. Hey, this is new. I didn't notice.
Well, bald people notice shit like that.
Oh,
I
okay.
noticed it right
All
away.
right.
He started throwing stones, and I'm like, they just don't have the money to get the hair plugs, bro, and
Right,
the teeth
there
whitening,
you go.
bro.
Exactly. That
You
is that is
know?
true. Very true.
So give them a break, Mr. High Horse.
Yeah, exactly. Netflix special you couldn't get.
So, but touching on your point, though, what we thought this was going into it was a chance for them to right some wrongs.
Exactly.
With those
You
jump
know.
cuts, I don't want them to come back now in other interviews and say
Exactly.
this
Which is exactly
episode-
what's going to happen.
Yeah, this episode
They're
going to
drag
all
this
the shit I
out.
wanted to say.
They're going to drag this out and say, well, yeah, I mean, he asked me about this, but they cut that out because it, you know, I felt like it maybe painted Joe in a good light or something. But then again, they'd left some of the stuff with Kelsey in. So I don't know.
Right.
It's hard to tell with these edited shows.
She is coming out shining. She's looking like a rose, dude.
We said that in the
SAFF
original one.
Is the
SAFF.
only one who will stand up for Joe and say the man did some shit, justice was served, but he don't need to die in prison.
Exactly. She's
And
the only one.
She's the only one.
And Two Legs was, but she is the only one right in
Right.
this particular episode saying
Yeah.
that.
So, I mean, look, we said it. He needs time.
Yeah,
He needs to serve some time. And it could be the best thing for him
absolutely.
to just unwind a little bit.
It's like it's going back to what you said a few minutes ago. I think near the end when you saw him leave the zoo and all that stuff, and it was just one camera, and it wasn't a show going on around him.
Yep.
I think you saw a little bit more of the real Joe,
I do
and
too.
a little bit less of the caricature Tiger King.
And you can't tell me that he is beyond reform.
Yeah, because I bet you, you know, the way I took it was with Kelsey, or is, you know, at the time she was a young girl, and he was probably a little less abrasive with her, a little more normal, and she saw that side of him probably more than other people.
That's a good point.
You know
a
what I mean?
Really good point. Because
I think that's probably the. I mean, that's the way I'm just.
yeah, I do
picturing
believe
it.
that he kind of. I'm not gonna say he's a predator, but I do believe,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like that guy said, he liked young boys
Right.
and
Yep.
dumb boys, and so she wasn't even on his radar. So they were just able to interact.
Normally, because yeah, I mean that is a fair point. He did even say that, you know, I fell in love with two straight guys, and
Yeah.
people were said it is predatory to. I mean, yes, these people at the time needed places to stay in, they needed jobs and stuff, but he did take advantage of that, obviously,
Right.
and that's a problem. So again, but I just think my opinion is probably more like you said. That kind of stuff was not on his mind around her, and she was younger, and so he was less abrasive. So she probably saw the more real person who gave a shit about the animals. You know,
Right.
kind of the person that started the zoo way back in the day before the money came in.
Yeah.
A little bit more of that person.
And I do want to say this real quick. As we're going through these, some things are going to hit my mind, and if I don't say it, I'll end up forgetting. But for those of you that don't know, I know a lot of you probably do. I used to work at fairs and carnivals and festivals.
old
and stuff,
Carney
right?
here.
So these people remind me of a lot of the people
Sure.
I met on the road, the carnies. And it's very similar. You know, you have these people who are in weird spots in their life, and for whatever reason, they need to escape. So they join this traveling, you know, carnival, and they go out there and they live rough in these bunk houses and these RVs, and they sleep
Right.
under their rides, and they do this. They shower every third day.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. So there's some definite truth to some of the stereotypes. I mean, that's
right,
what's
there is.
that's what's funny about comedy and
it's-
comedians picking on stereotypes because
Yeah.
there's truth to them.
It's fun to make fun of carnies. There's that
Oh,
funny
yeah.
stereotype stereotype and it's there for a reason. But once you actually get to hang out with some of them like I have, you realize, man, they're just damaged people.
Right.
And they form this little community, and it's really like a family to them, even sometimes stronger than their family connections that they ran away from.
Because I mean that's a lifestyle, and they're getting away from something, obviously.
And this guy that we talked about, the Motley Crue guy, what was his name?
Yeah. Eric. We called him Craigslist originally. Now we're calling him Vince Neil because this guy, Ryan Seacrest's brother, asked him like why he looked like Vince Neil or something about it. And he's like, oh, I hate Motley Crue. Yeah. I mean, but he came off as a real asshole this time.
Yeah.
And in the documentary, he was kind of a neutral asshole.
He really was.
He was like, everybody's an asshole. I'm an asshole. Joe's an asshole, blah, blah, blah. But it's about the cats.
But
and I think he does believe that sincerely.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, look at him. He came from Craigslist. He's looking for something new to do, and now here he is years later still working with these cats. And
right.
You can tell he loves them.
And he's the only one, I believe, still working at that zoo or park or whatever with Jeff. Because he cares about the cats, is what he's saying.
And he said something, looked in the camera and was like, you make fun of my teeth, but I'm old, and it's going to happen to you. Trust me.
And it's like
maybe not to that degree, brother, but
yes.
but at least, he's being real. I
was saying, if you take care of him a little bit. But, Listerine.
Shit happens.
Sponsored by Listerine. We could have got a Listerine sponsor for this podcast. But yeah, that was kind of the next on the list anyway, is it was like another Bash Joe session. And it's like, you were there when he killed the tigers. You said that, and these tigers trusted me, but you were still there.
I called him into the cage to get tranquilized or whatever.
Right.
So
you took part in it, but now Joe's the asshole.
That reminds me.
I don't know. It's
I
really weird.
believe what we were talking about earlier is the key here, is that the documentary, it was like, I want to say park owners or whatever, zoo owners,
right,
and everything against each other. And they all wanted to shine the light on Joe because he was the easiest target.
I think so, because he put himself in that position by running his mouth.
Now that the light is specifically shined down on that zoo, all the people in that zoo are now pushing it all on Joe too.
Right, because if Jeff now
he's
loses
the fall
this
guy
thing,
for every layer of it.
He is. And if they lose that zoo now, because the Tiger King's not there, then they have to go get other jobs or whatever. And good and damn well there's no other parks necessarily going to take them because of being associated with Joe.
I do believe right now in my heart.
Like this motherfucker, Craigslist or Vince Neil, whichever nickname you want to choose this week, is not going to go get a job in the San Diego Zoo after this.
No.
Just ain't going to happen. I mean, let's be real about it.
No, that would be a pipe dream, if he thought that. But, I mean, it's admirable what he's done, but if he wouldn't be such a backstabber on the back end, he would be, a lot cooler to me.
Yeah, because like I said, it was really kind of neutral and at least fair, and I think he probably is, but this one, again, it was kind of the Bash Joe thing, fuck him, whatever.
Joe, basically what we're hearing in what was it, episode 7 of the series had 7, right?
Right.
This was 8.
Yeah, this was 8.
Okay, so 7, you see Joe kind of link up with PETA.
Yes.
And so he's coming after all these people.
He gave PETA all these names and all those files and stuff. That was smart of him to have this locker.
It really was.
And his husband Dylan goes over when he's already locked away, and he's telling him, get all this shit, bring it here, all these files.
Shows where I sold tigers to this person and that person.
He kept records. So he might be a dumb hillbilly, but he kept records, this dumb hillbilly. And he got rid of the ones he didn't need.
Yeah, Skippy.
And killed a few alligators in the process.
My crocodilians.
Exactly. I tell you what, motherfuckers, you come in here and put a bullet between your eyes. I mean, he's the one in there sneaking around blowing shit up.
Dude, yeah, if you've got a limp, don't get caught on a fucking closed circuit.
I know.
With a gas jug in your hand.
That is true. I didn't think about the limp. Kind of look like...
You see a limping silhouette
exactly.
with a bullet.
I'm sorry.
But, hey.
Oh, shit.
But seriously, though, the Joe we saw in episode 7...
Yeah.
And now we know that he's had time in there behind bars.
Yeah.
I know he's bitter, right? Because all this fame is going on and he's not getting to reap the rewards.
Sure.
But if that guy who had that epiphany about the chimpanzees,
Yes.
if he got out, he could be
Right.
the biggest advocate for these cats
Absolutely.
that the world has ever seen.
Absolutely, because I mean, he's obviously experienced in them. He knows
Yes.
history and
He
how
knows-
to take care of them and what to. I mean, yeah, he could
He
absolutely
knows what to look for shady wise.
He could literally be one of those people to go around and talk about this kind of thing, do TED Talks and shit.
TED Talks.
I mean,
That's
if they
great,
really
dude.
care
You're right.
about the animals themselves and get to a place where you rescue these animals, and again, I understand you cannot release captive tigers into the wild. It has been done, by the way.
Right.
There's been documentaries on that. It has been done, but it's a long process.
But we've got ideas. I mean, you just need more land. And
Yes,
if somebody
basically.
could donate a lot of land, it would
Exactly.
be like releasing them to the wild.
Exactly. They're still taken care of, but there's nobody visiting. I mean, we mentioned that before in the other podcast. If you had a big sanctuary,
Yeah.
and you took care of them, and they had this huge amount of land
And
to
you had to
roam on,
drive through there.
and you had to drive through there and find them, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and
because
you-
people need to see them and experience them and learn, because that's what protects them is
You could
education.
almost have like an ecosystem there.
Yes.
Like they could actually feed off of real deer.
Like the
and stuff
big
like
game
that.
reserves in Africa and
That's
shit.
right,
That, you
yeah.
know, the military guard. So, I
And
mean,
we read Yellowstone is a reserve,
Right.
So that works.
there's nature reserves everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, in the U.S. and
helps
now every continent.
And then when the population, say, of deer in Yellowstone gets too much, they can let hunters go in there for a little bit. I mean, you can
That's
do
what they
things
do.
like this.
That's what they do.
And
Yep.
If the wolves can't keep up,
Yep.
the hunters can help. And then,
Exactly.
anyway, there's ways around this. And Joe, knowing all the seedy, shady dealings and stuff,
Yes. He
but with
knows.
a
He
good
knows
heart,
the underground.
He could be right. He could be the right
He
guy.
knows the black market. He knows the underground. He knows how people operate. He knows how it all works. So he could
Yeah.
absolutely be a huge ally. But I mean, what's more important to him? Keeping him in jail for something that's pretty damn, I don't know. I would say slim in the evidence department,
Yeah,
or saving the actual tigers when there's only 4,000 in the wild.
right.
I mean,
I mean, look, dude, make it, even if he's on like house arrest or something, he can't.
Yeah,
own
make
a-
it
he
part of
can't
his
own
deal.
a gun or something. I mean, there could be stipulations, but he doesn't need to be rotting away in there.
no, do your time for the animal cruelty stuff,
Yep.
and then be an advocate. I
Yep.
mean, just
and I believe that could be the end of this. It could be a really good.
It could
ending.
be. It could be. I mean, I think that's the best path from the limited information that they
True.
show on this documentary and the few videos we've watched of interviews. I mean,
And-
again, everything's limited and edited, so we don't really know. But
And Chris and I are in our 40s. We know people can
Emma?
stray
Yeah.
and get caught up in shit, realize it,
yes,
and change direction. It
Absolutely.
happens. That's the beauty of, I think, of growing up. You have scars and wrinkles for a reason. You
Yep.
learn things. You know, you burn your hand on the stove. You don't touch it anymore. You learn
second
from it.
chances in general,
Yeah.
and this modern thing is all about cancel culture, and people seem to forget about, I don't know, due process.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying he didn't get his, but the way it was put together was shady as
Sure.
fuck, and we know that. So.
Sure.
Really quick, just to get this out of the
Yeah.
way, the last person, we mentioned Lauren, Jeff's wife. She was, with him, but the last person actually interviewed, I believe, was Josh, who was campaign fuck the feds guy.
Yeah, that touched me. His part seemed to be the realest to me.
I think so. He's the one who saw. Now, that was kind of one new piece of information. I actually kind of sort of, because there's already speculation about it, but he's the one who was in the office when
Yeah.
Travis, the other husband of Joe, shot himself.
Yeah.
And he says he made it pretty clear on this episode that he thought it was actually an accident.
And the way the documentary was, it led us to believe that he was really depressed. Showed him punching the thing.
Yeah, he had that little, I don't know what episode where he was pissed off, and he even said, "This is the last time, my last cigarette before I die."
Yeah, and
And
we
then-
don't know when that was.
Yeah, there was a
filmed,
time frame
so
or
they
yes.
could have framed us to think he killed himself on purpose.
Right.
And literally, he might have been joking. What did you say the guy's name was?
Josh, yeah.
Yeah, he seemed to think
He's the one. He's the
sure.
libertarian, the campaign manager for when he ran for governor and president. Fuck the feds.
Fuck the
yeah,
feds.
that's
I
fuck
love
the
that.
feds. But yeah, he seems to think it was a legitimate accident because as he put it, and it shows you he has no idea what he's talking about. Either one of them, it can't go off if there's not a clip in it.
Yeah.
If there's one of the chambers, a semi-automatic, I don't care if it's Ruger, Glock, whatever, it will go off.
It could be a horrible accident. Like if somebody
Yes.
told him that and he was just goofing.
Yes.
I feel for him. I mean, that's the thing. Once
The
you
way
pull
he-
the trigger, you can't unpull
That's
it.
right. The way he put it was he saw for 5 seconds, I think he said, in his eyes, like, oh, shit, what'd I just do?
Yeah.
But, I mean, who knows? That'll never be, I don't think we'll ever really know that.
No, but I hope that at least his mom maybe sees that and feels a little bit better.
Yeah,
that he
maybe
wasn't
there's-
depressed and there wasn't anything you could do. It was an accident.
Yeah, right. So hopefully, maybe they, I'm sure behind the scenes, off camera, they've talked. And
Yeah,
we got to
I'm
be,
sure.
and we're trying to be as fair as possible because we know we're really, like in the podcast, railed against Carole fucking Baskin. And I think deservedly so. But again, it is a documentary that is edited. And it's like they kind of led us to believe Travis was a suicide when maybe it wasn't a suicide.
Yes,
but
right.
they did put that footage in that order.
Yeah.
So you can't be manipulated as far as, who to pull for type of thing.
Yeah. And
So I get that.
am I remembering right? Did Josh really have an opinion one way or the other about Joe? Did he? Well, he wasn't like
He
fuck
was
Joe,
like,
was
he wasn't like a, fuck Joe. He's kind of the same as No Legs John. It
Yeah.
was like, Joe's done he was a crazy bastard.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way he put it. He was a crazy motherfucker. But
And he gave me a chance of a lifetime.
But I wasn't going to turn down the chance. And then he was talking about specifically for him how his life changed, the trauma from seeing that suicide. He's trying to raise some money to go to counseling, and he wants to get back to campaigning for somebody.
Yeah,
so.
that touched me a lot, man.
So I think he was, him, I think Kelsey and then John Legs were the realest people in this damn thing.
But you and I both picked up something with Kelsey SAFF.
Yeah.
It seemed like her light's a little dimmer.
It did. And again, it could be just all these interviews,
It could be.
but she did seem a little less optimistic is the way I put it.
Yeah.
So, but she still didn't bash Joe. I don't
No.
know. She wasn't like because it used to be all about the Tigers and whatever, and it's like, and then obviously they all left when Jeff took over, except
Yeah.
for Eric,
All right.
Motley Crue.
Yeah.
So he's the only one still there, I believe, but technically they're not open anyway. So yeah, she was. I don't know. Looked a little wore down, maybe. I don't
That's
know.
a good way to put it.
I don't know how to.
And
Yeah.
I think she's getting like the whole shit's just catching up with her a little bit.
Yeah, because
you
she
know?
mentioned like he did ask everybody about like how's your life changed, and they mentioned going to Walmart and people wanting to take pictures with her in the middle of a pandemic and stuff. And then of course that's when he made Walmart jokes. That's what he pulls from the whole thing.
I know.
Is Walmart is the hot spot for cat lovers or something? I can't remember
Yeah.
what he said, but it was just all dumb jokes. And I'm not claiming to be a comedian. I'm just
No,
saying
but
he ain't one.
Those were tired.
Those were.
And as I look at it, SAFF lost her arm
Yes.
dealing with these cats. As an employee of Joe's, she evidently, was back to work 5 days later.
Right. Yeah, that was actually after the accident. Then they saved her arm, but then the amputation.
Yeah.
7 days in total.
7 days total. She's back at work, and I guess what I'm saying is all these other people who have griefs with Joe. I mean, she lost an arm. She's going
Right.
to look down for the rest of her life and
yes.
remember Joe Exotic. And for her not to really be bashing him, I think I take her opinion more seriously.
I do
of
too,
Joe.
because she seems to be legitimately like they even asked her, "Would you?" He asked her something like, "Would you do something for Joe or are you more loyal to Joe or the Tigers?" She said, "Always the Tigers,"
Right.
and I believe her.
I do too.
And I believe that's the case for a lot of these
I do
dudes.
too.
Because that's why they went there initially.
Yep.
But I think she's the only one that's not been corrupted by all this shit.
I do, man. She's she has scars, obviously.
Literal and and mental. Yes,
And
absolutely.
so I believe that Joe is not as horrible a person. I think she saw a side of him maybe some of the other ones didn't.
Right.
But yeah, I think we're on to something with
I
that,
think so,
about
too.
how they interacted.
I look forward to seeing any more, if there's any updates, any legal updates especially. You know, obviously if there's something, we'll jump on here and talk about it as far as the podcast goes. For some new, another season, another episode, I don't know. But there's going to be probably a few, I'm sure, interviews saying, well, they cut this out again.
Yeah.
There's always a side,
Is his new husband, Dylan, is he being a voice for Joe at all? Is he relaying anything to the public?
I did see a little interview with him, and they're still married, and he's still supporting him and all that stuff.
I think he should have some kind of YouTube or Facebook where he says, I talked to Joe. It gives like updates to people.
I know that there is he does have fan pages being updated by him. He's telling people what to put. So I've seen some of those.
Okay, good.
So his personal page is being updated by somebody.
Okay.
And so, and it's current. So that is, there are some fan pages that they specifically said that he's having people run.
Okay, good deal.
So that would be.
And you seem to think, and I think you're right about Rick Kirkman, Nasal is running.
I'm sorry.
Oh, excuse me. Let me interview you real quick. Rick.
Oh, yes.
Rick.
Yes.
I need to ask you. I know you in the series. It seemed like you owned the rights to Joe Exotic Entertainment or something. Are you behind the YouTube channel?
Well, yeah, actually, I am. I keep it updated and current because, I really want to get away from this Joe Exotic stuff. I just can't stand it. I have to get away from it, but I do keep up with the Joe Exotic TV YouTube channel. And because, I'm not a good reporter, so it's the only way I can make money. So, yes, I want to get away from it, but temporarily I have to keep running the YouTube channel.
Thanks for clarifying that for me. I was wondering if you were trying to get away from it.
Because he says that.
I know.
I got to get away from it. It's the worst thing that ever happened. Still uploading every other day.
Yes.
On Joe Exotic TV. Millions of views. Come on, dude.
Something else that's got me.
We should have did the whole thing.
I know,
we should have did the whole interview.
That was awesome.
If I could just go get a clothespin.
Yeah, just leave it.
I might be able to pull it off without it. I'm not sure.
Wait till you hear it. You're going to be like, damn, I do sound like him.
I know. I used to do voices back in the day, but I never practiced him.
Kenny Powers and...
oh, yeah.
This
now,
guy.
people, that's the thing. When I on YouTube, that's the thing I've been called the most. You sound like Kenny Powers, dude.
And I told you that dude...
actually, no, I don't. I play real sports. I don't practice being the best at exercise. I laughed in the middle of it. I fucked it up. Anyway, yeah, I've been called Kenny Powers quite a few times. I guess I don't know. I guess is the way I talk.
I never thought it, but as soon as I read that comment, I was like, dude,
I used to get them all the time back in the day, and then I started quoting that all the time when people would say that.
That's awesome.
I don't try to be best at exercise.
No. Matter of fact, I don't. I play real sports.
No, as a matter of fact, I don't. I play real sports. I don't try to be the best at exercise.
That sounds just like him in my ear, dude. I'm telling you, I promise.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
I've got a couple more things I want to get your take on. One is, it looks like Doc Antle is coming out smelling like a rose out of all this.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of interviews too. I hadn't watched them all, to be fair, but I've seen a few of them, and he's been clearing his name in a lot of things. So we did say something incorrectly, so we want to make sure we correct that as well. We said in the initial podcast that the park was shut down. I was just led to believe that because it said they were raided in 2019.
Right.
They were raided, but it was for 2 tigers.
Yeah.
That he had bought or whatever. Maybe the ones that was actually kind of accidentally shown when when Dylan showed the papers for a quick second.
Yep.
And he was like, no. Is that bad?
That's right.
So it might have been those 2, but he's not shut down.
So
apparently, I forgot
he didn't date her.
He didn't necessarily date. No, we're not sure. Barbara Fisher, who came from the cult.
Yeah.
As we called her.
She definitely was there,
She was definitely there. She definitely worked there, but I didn't look up enough information to have a real opinion on if she's full of shit or whatever, but a lot of people seem to insinuate she is.
Really? Well,
I don't know.
She had pictures and all this, and she did get a boob job, like she said.
Yeah.
But you never know.
It's like that,
it
and
could
that's
be
what I mean.
sour
It
grapes
led us
for her, so she's trying to
it's
shit
true.
on him.
I mean, if you got a boob job, you wasn't in a relationship with him or you were. I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
Like, she acted like that was part of the deal.
Right.
you
She
know?
didn't say it either way. I'm just hearing other people say that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. She hadn't come out with any. Like I said, they're just handpicking the people who are bashing Joe when she's really there to bash Doc. So they didn't need her.
Because see, in the docuseries, Doc seemed to be the other park owner that kind of was supporting Joe.
Yeah, and
But
he still does.
As I said, it almost seemed like they were Joe, and feeding him information on Carole because they needed Carole off their back as well.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
Joe again was almost like the fall guy for him.
But he's definitely still taking up for Joe in some sense,
It's-
and saying, basically fuck Carole and fuck PETA and people like that, right?
And Doc does have the best quality place,
Yes.
I think, for the animals.
Yep. I
And
think
he
so.
said Joe's was better than Carole's.
But he's basically denying all that about him killing animals and treating them like shit and whatever.
Right.
And I don't think they had any footage on him doing that.
Right.
We thought that one was, but we're not really sure. It was a
Yeah,
quick
no.
little shot of somebody just smacking one in the face, a tiger. So he's at least been pretty out there, and he's not really afraid to go on interviews and say something. And I think they're all doing interviews, but again, it depends on who's doing the interview.
Yeah.
Like this cat wasn't interested in anything but making fun of these rednecks. That's all he was doing.
He could have really had some digging, pressing questions.
Yeah,
I think,
get a fucking journalist and not try to have a stay-at-home Netflix special.
Right.
That was my whole problem with it.
Tell me, it seems like if you were a park owner and this came around and you come out of it not unscathed, but it could be beneficial to your park, I think Doc's came out the best.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, because
would say
it
so.
looked the cleanest. It looked the
Right.
best habitat.
It just
looked like
depends
the realest
on
habitat.
Depends on because this is huge. It depends on how many people believe that he is horrible to animals and he kills them
Right.
when they're too old. And that's what he was saying on this last little thing we watched with him was,
Yeah.
why would I kill a tiger that makes money? And it's not beneficial to the business either.
Right.
And it's immoral and all that stuff. And he seems like but hey, look, people talk a good game.
They
so I
do.
don't want to really
See, I do believe that he's kind of got a cult there.
Yeah,
Right? He's got
yeah,
a
I mean-
harem of wives, but
Come on.
that does not make somebody a horrible person. It's just their lifestyle's different than mine.
right. And those people there are there by choice.
They're by choice. They're grown.
So I mean,
now,
I don't know.
my last question I have to ask is the dude on the jet ski,
Oh yes,
James.
snitch.
Snitch. Does it not feel
It's
like
the eye of the tiger. It's the fear of the fight. He was. I mean, what was that, dude? I mean,
he's like, cut these cameras
the
off? Let's go to
FBI.
the
I'm
lake.
telling you, the feds gave him a jet ski and said, "Look, man, we'll play Eye of the fucking Tiger.
Yeah.
if you ride this motherfucker through with sunglasses on."
And if you know anything, the feds got that jet ski from a drug dealer they busted.
Exactly.
They're just passing the shit
They might have
around.
got it from fucking Tony Montana.
Yeah. So, hey, here's the thing. I feel like, because he said, I mean, what was it? Jeff Lowe,
yeah.
I feel like, is afraid of this guy for some reason. He says there's,
Yes.
he teamed up with the feds for more than a lemur or whatever it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they never will come out and say what it is. They're
No.
scared as shit to say
Exactly.
something
And
about
he's
this
the one that
dude.
kind of at the time apparently brought Jeff into the feds and say, "Look, yeah, I'm working with them," and straight up told him. So he told him he was a snitch.
I've heard multiple
and
people say
it was all the team ups. They teamed up to take down Joe. Jeff was in. It's like the enemy, my enemy, keep your enemies closer thing.
Yeah.
Because he needed Joe out of the picture to take over the park. So he
Right.
teamed up with Snitch to get Joe kicked out and join the feds. So
And
he
then
was playing both
Snitch
sides of the
wanted
fence.
his name on the park, but didn't have any money.
Right, so he's like, sorry.
Jeff got him out of there. But it feels like I've heard multiple people say that's not why he teamed up with the feds.
Right,
Because he got busted with that thing.
and they've
that-
never said
and
anything.
they're scared
else.
to say
So
anything.
I think
Say
he's,
what it is.
Somebody's got him by the balls.
Yeah.
That's bottom line.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably I don't know it's probably not even related to animals.
That's what I'm
related to-
thinking.
It's probably related to people.
That's exactly
And
what I'm
that's
thinking.
all I'm going to say because I'm not going to throw out accusations.
That's fair enough because that's all I want to say too. Is I don't think it's related to anything
Yeah.
doing animals.
Yeah, you probably get the idea
Yep.
of what we're
Yep.
saying. So yeah, he's definitely sketchy as fuck like the rest of them.
Yes, he is.
No doubt about it.
And that was really all I wanted. Those two things about Doc and about him.
Yeah, I definitely
and-
think that's there's a lot of different moving parts, and it's not just black and white where this person's good and this is bad. They're all a bunch of not necessarily horrible people, but they're in this weird space where it attracts these type of people to do shady shit. They see this kind of money where they don't have to work a real job, or I'm not that it's not hard work, but you
Right.
know what I mean. They're working for themselves in a sense. And it's some kind of weird little community, but they all have to stab each other in the back to move up the ladder. There's some kind of pecking order.
It's so crazy.
And Joe was up here as
He
far as
was.
the popularity, the character at
and
least.
the
Anyway.
jealousy was there.
Yep.
And
And then Carole fucking Baskin and all that whole feud.
Yeah.
That's what this all started with.
that's right.
All Joe versus Carole, and then they
And it
all
was Carol's
teamed up with-
fault.
yeah. They
Joe
all
didn't go looking for her.
No,
She came
absolutely. And they all jumped on Joe's side when it benefited them
That's right.
because they needed her out of the picture too.
And now I believe that he's there, and they don't want him out because of everything he knows.
Right.
And it's easier to say he's right where he needs to be. He's a horrible person.
Yes.
Because that keeps that shine from getting on you.
That's right.
You
And
know?
it keeps the heat off them.
Yeah.
Just let's leave everything as is. Don't fix it if it ain't broke, type
And,
of thing.
And the last thing I'll say about Carole fucking Baskin is this. People out there, all right, I am not saying that Carole definitely 100% killed her husband. I'm not saying if she did, she put him through a meat grinder.
Right.
But when she comes out and says, this meat grinder was this big.
Oh, come on.
Now, my thing is this. Don't fall for any of that stuff. If you say you couldn't fit a hand in that meat grinder, if you took a cleaver and chopped that hand up, you could.
Right.
So this is a little one. Now imagine a big one.
Right.
You could cut this
'Cause-
arm off and stick it right through
Because we watched
there.
this other video on her channel where she's trying to explain the meat grinder and the
Septic
tank.
Yep.
And she changed her story again.
Yeah, the story
well, I
changed.
just assumed they were talking about this septic tank. But this
Judy's.
one over here was put in for years before.
Right.
Well, this one was put in years after. So I said, so what are you talking about? So it seemed to me like Joe had got some information on that, and then that's why she's got an answer for it. If you didn't do anything, all you have to do is come out and say, this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not even going to comment on it. But she
that's
goes
right.
into so much detail.
She does.
And on the actual documentary, unless Netflix literally took some footage from somewhere else, it was a big-ass
Right.
meat grinder. Now, I'm not saying it was used either. I'm just
No.
saying, why are you defending something that's not even true?
That's
I
right.
mean, in that much detail is what I'm saying.
And it's easy for people to say, oh, you've watched too many movies and TV shows to
Yes.
believe something like that. Look,
Where do you think they got the ideas?
thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, where
where
you
do you think they came from?
Exactly.
Those stories.
Real stories.
They're real.
Exactly.
People, just because something's outlandish doesn't mean it's not true.
That's right.
That's all I got to say about that.
Damn, there you go, Forrest. So we got all kinds of impressions in this one too, apparently. But yeah, we'll leave it there. We have another. We thought this was going to be kind of a quick one. We're at another hour and 10 minutes or so on this
Awesome.
whole thing. But yeah, we wanted to touch back up on some of this stuff, and then mention this kind of new thing that was kind of a
Wow.
cat hole. Cat hole, get down. Anyway,
I thought somebody just shot me.
But yeah, I mean, this was kind of a dud. Like I said, I just think it was a failed Netflix social distancing documentary.
Yeah, that's
Cal,
what
get
it
down.
was. Just let's feed the masses.
There's no more real info, so we try to look at some other videos and kind of bring it all back together, and has some new thoughts on some things that came out as well after, as far as
That's
some of
right.
the updates. So yeah, if something pops back up,
We'll be
there's
back.
another thing. We'll talk about it again.
Yeah, we'll
see.
follow this.
We'll definitely keep up with the legal issues because he's got actual, counterclaims and all kinds of stuff, appeals and all that going on.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But anyway, yes, if you listen to this on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, or Google Play, please give us a rating there if you enjoy this podcast, and please like and subscribe on YouTube. So we'll leave it there and let it
Fade to black.
That was awesome, dude.
That was